You are with Destination Newry. It is the morning programme. Good morning, Newry, and morning the world. Your timeline of guests moving through takes us right now to Trevor Simpson from One Point. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Ron.
It's good to see you. You're
good,
welcome.
Good to be here.
Yeah, you've been here before, and at this time of the week we seek to wind things down a little bit, or wind things up more appropriately, because the greatest challenge, the greatest story in town is the story of why we're here, how we came to be here, where we're going, and what's all that about.
Exactly.
And your lighthouse group in Warren Point seeks to answer some of those questions.
They do.
How's it going in Warren Point?
Well, the good news is the boys have recently secured a hall in Warren Point. Do you remember the old Scout Hall?
I do.
In Great Georgia Street?
I do.
I used to spend many hours in
there. A little
there.
bit further on, there's an Orange Hall. Is that the same street?
It's the same street.
Ah, yeah, yes, I know it, of course.
The Orange Hall, the Parochial Hall, and then the Scout Hall.
Yeah.
So the Lighthouse group, they have secured the tenancy in the Scout Hall.
Wonderful.
And they're busy painting away at the moment. And the hope is that, in the months and years to come, that there'll be a beacon in the community, a beacon of hope.
Well, that's what we want, a beacon of hope. How is your beacon of hope any different to the beacon of hope that exists in, say, the Newry Christian Centre, or over at the Dominican, or up with Kingsley on the light on the hill? How is your beacon of hope different, or is it different?
Well, we're actually we're plugged into the same network, Rowan.
Ah, it's a network thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're not there to compete. If anything, we're there to encourage and work alongside other churches. In that regard, I actually have made a strong connection with the parish church in Warren Point, which is my home church.
Yes, that's Clonallen.
Clonallen and Warren Point.
And Warren Point, yes.
And it's also combined with Kilbrony parish now. So, within that parish church, they're actually going to have 3 days of prayer in the month of June. That's 24-hour prayer.
24-hour prayer?
Yeah.
Constancy of prayer. You're all becoming monks.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be a bad thing. And so that's a foundation that we're laying down in that parish with regards to an entire year of mission that they intend to have next year.
A year of mission?
A year of mission. Yeah. And this actually was part of the vision of the Bishop of Down and Dromore, a gentleman called Bishop Harold Miller.
I know Harold Miller. Yeah, I know this bishop. He was my colleague's bishop, Robin Harris, who was my colleague in the BBC. When we both left at around about age 48, he went to the ministry.
Yes.
And for a year served in Bangor, and then he passed away.
Right.
That was a sadness, but we got over that. But Harold Miller is a strong man, a good man.
He is, and he's got vision. And, as you're probably aware, in the book of Habakkuk in the Bible, it says, without vision, the people perish.
I want to tell you something, and I want to thank you for showing that confidence in me. But I know as much about the book of Habakkuk as I now know about walking around on the surface of Mars. But you do me a great service by suggesting that I might.
Yeah.
But any book of Habakkuk or anything else that says to me, without vision there's nothing, I'd go along with that any day. There's no two ways about it.
I read the book of Habakkuk a number of years ago. There's only 3 chapters to it. And part of the reason why I read it was my friend Alan Warburton said to me one day, have you ever read Habakkuk? And I said no. He says, well, what are you going to do when you get to heaven if a guy sits down beside you and says, hi, my name's Habakkuk, what do you think of my book? so at least I'll be able to...
You'll be able to say something on
I'm not a wrong-footed, Rowan.
So what is the burden of the swathes of Habakkuk? What's he saying?
Well, essentially, it's a book of encouragement. And it's a book that says to people that whatever your circumstance in life, it's about that perseverance, it's about pressing on, and it's about pushing through. And it reminds me actually of something that happened in Warren Point 40 years ago. This very month, I was at a function in the Parochial Hall just last month, and I was talking to Mairead McAnulty. Do you know Mairead? McAnulty's that run the buses.
Yes, and they'll give you your last bus ride.
Exactly. And Mairead was able to remind me of the fact that 40 years ago this month...
The tragedy.
There was a bomb.
At
the post office.
That wasn't the one that took little Riley.
No, that was the one down Charlotte Street. Yeah. But there was a car bomb at the post office in Warren Point 40 years ago, and that actually was my home because my father ran the post office. And that was a bit of a defining moment in my life, Rowan, because I was only 13 years of age then. And we became homeless once that bomb ignited. The whole square was devastated. And effectively, we became refugees. And I remember at the time, the rector of the parish church was a man called Derek Tiney. And Derek and his wife, Gwen, were lovely folk. And they immediately threw open the doors of their home and said, listen, you know, our home is your home from now on. And we lived there for a couple or 3 months with Derek and Gwen. But I'll never forget the day we got bombed. We were hosted in Derek and Gwen's house that evening. And we were given a room to sleep in. And Mum and Dad were in the double bed. And I was lying on the floor at the bottom of the bed. And I never forget my father getting out of bed and getting down on his knees and praying for the men who bombed us. And that was a bit of a defining moment for me, Rowan, because I was 13 years of age, at a vulnerable age, in a vulnerable position. And I remember at the time thinking, I'm going to go one of two ways. I'm either going to get bitter or I'm going to get better. And I believe it's because of my father's example of forgiveness that I chose the better route.
I think as you speak, the cenotaph in Enniskillen comes to mind.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wilson trapped under the rubble,
yeah,
hand in hand with his dying daughter.
That's right.
And Wilson said, I forgive them.
Yeah.
And he was able to forgive them.
That's right.
So forgiveness is at the very heart of what you're about.
It is. It is
because
very
that's
much.
in the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
That's right.
Now, if we don't hack that end of it,
yeah,
we've kind of lost the plot.
You're right.
Big time.
That's the first step, Rowan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes there's occasions in life when you know within yourself that you physically cannot forgive the person. And it's at that time you've actually got to hand the circumstance over to God and say, listen, will you put forgiveness in my heart? That you choose to forgive, just as God chooses to forget sometimes.
I was going to say, thank God he does.
You're right.
But I think when I reach, I know this, I espouse the principle of forgiveness.
Yeah.
I think it's important. But there are those I find it difficult to forgive.
Yeah.
And I go into a deep, growling prayer that's not coming out.
That's
but
right.
it's going down here and it's going, oh, I want to forgive this. Lord, I want to forgive.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of many deep, growling prayers,
yes,
not vocally expressed,
yes,
I can truthfully say there's probably, and that's the operative word,
yeah,
no one in this world at this moment in my life that I can't forgive.
yeah.
That's a difficult enough thing to say. And that's when I see where we are in Northern Ireland trying to build a future, to walk the road towards peace.
Yeah.
That those who talk about vengeance and not forgiving, we've no place for them. It's
You're
no
right.
good. It's no good at all.
Yeah.
It's no good at all. When did you get the call to be a Christian person?
It was at the age of 21. And it came about through a conversation with my friend Alan Warburton.
Oh, yeah.
We were actually sitting in the square in Moran Point one evening, sitting in his banged up Vauxhall Viva. And Alan, at the time, I'd been going to a lot of, Christian events, let's say, coffee bars and stuff like that, and hearing a message of hope and security. And I find it attractive, but I remember Alan said to me one particular evening, you know what, Simpson, you're like an elephant hanging over a cliff with its tail tied to a daisy. You just don't want to let go. And for me at the time, I was young, I was ambitious, I was working in the bank, and I felt I had too much to lose if I became a Christian. I felt I had to, let go of the world and all that sort of stuff. And how wrong I was. But on the back of his comment, I remember going into my home that evening and going to bed, and just before I went to bed, I opened a wee Gideon Bible that I'd been given in school. And I turned to the book of Romans. And in the book of Romans, it says, there's a verse that says, the day is long spent, the night is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and put on the armour of light. And it was just as if God was taking me by the lapel and said, excuse me, but I'm talking to you.
Oh, yeah, listen here, boy. I kind of get that from the Glenstall Book of Prayer, the Glenstall Benedictine Monastery.
Yes.
They do a book of prayer that gives you prayers in the morning, prayers in the evening,
Yeah.
every day of the week.
Yeah.
And I will very often, at my 3:30 in the morning when I'm preparing to leave my home, overlooking the loch, and at times before the light is there, you're thanking God for the safety of the night.
That's right.
And the emergence of the new day and the new light.
That's right.
And that all means something.
Absolutely.
The extent of my morning prayer would often be a Weetabix with a chopped banana and the Our Father.
Yes.
As I'm eating the Weetabix.
That's a good recipe.
You know, it's a good recipe,
That's
isn't
a good
it?
mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that came to me, and it is a strong driving force within me now, for the greater part of my life, I search.
Yes.
Constantly searching. I don't know. I don't know. You know, we both believe there probably is a God. You would say to me, oh, I believe there is, but ultimately intellectual dissection doesn't let you arrive at that.
Yes.
So, but I've come quite recently to the knowledge that it's not that all that important that you need to be able to parse and analyze every breath of God.
That's right.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because all you've got to do is to walk in the way of the Beatitudes.
That's right.
To walk in peace.
Yeah. Well, take that word beatitude. It's about the be attitude.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be for people.
Exactly. And, you know, I think of a verse in Scripture that says, it challenges intellect, because it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths.
You see, that's coming to what I was saying there. Don't rely on your own understanding.
That's it.
There is no way that my intellect can rationalize a God who sends His angel down to tell His own family on earth, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, hightail it out, Herod's going to murder all the children.
That's right.
And doesn't tell the neighbours so they can get their children out.
That's right.
There's no way of explaining how a good God can do it. So stop trying, Rowan. Just go with the flow. My philosophy, and I write about it next week actually in my Democrat column, now in its 10th year, would you believe?
Really?
Where does time go? Every week for 10 years, the Democrat column. But I mark my 70th birthday by celebrating the fact that I treasure nothing except the ability not to treasure anything.
Yes.
And that's my celebration. And it's a give situation.
That's right.
One's greatest happiness is in giving away according to the word of the God.
Well, you know, it's so strange you should say that, because, you know, in recent years I've been on a journey. If you'd spoken to me 7, 8 years ago, I probably would have been too busy to take time and have this conversation, because I was so caught up in business and property and all that stuff, and at a development company in the Algarve, and life seemed very buoyant and prosperous, and yet all that got swept away when the recession came.
Oh yeah, of course.
I went through repossession, went through bankruptcy, all those things, and yet, Rowan, as I sit on the shore just 100 yards down the beach from where you're living and look out at those mountains, I can sincerely say that I'm as happy as I've ever been.
Oh yeah.
And really, the point that you're touching on there is one of the secrets is to travel light.
Oh yeah.
And not to cling to things.
No,
the only thing to hold on to is hope.
Well, I had the most amazing experience this time last year. My Mercedes car, which was well on in its life, but it was still a going machine. It was good. But I decided I didn't need it. And the Queen was paying my fare everywhere I wanted to go. So I met a man who needed a car. And I said, Tommy, the car is yours. Have it. I don't need it anymore. I've got my bicycle and I've got my pass. The Queen, long may she reign over me. I've got her pass.
God save her.
God save her, indeed. Let her keep paying my fare. And she's renewed it now for me as well. So there was the situation where I give my car away, and then within a week of giving my car away, Destination Newry contacted me. Rowan, would you like to present our morning show from 7:30 to 10:30? I suddenly realized I was entering a situation, when I said yes, of having to be in here at 4 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise you can't do this show.
That's right.
And I said yes. So I head off to start looking for a car. And you go to look for a car, you're going to spend a few thousand.
That's right. That's right.
Got a phone call from Aidan, my mechanic, Aidan Bagnall. Good morning, Aidan, a wonderful human being. Rowan, I know you don't want to drive. He knew nothing about the job. I know you don't want to drive anymore. I know you're going on the pass. but you have to buy this car. He said it's 10 years old. It was owned by one old woman.
Yes.
It's in excellent condition.
Yeah.
It's got 20,000 miles on the clock, and it's £500.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah. So the gift is in the giving.
It's in the giving.
Yeah.
We thank you for coming in.
Brilliant. Pleasure
And
as
we
always.
thank God for giving us the day that we're in.
Absolutely.
God bless you.
Thanks, Phil.
Oh, sorry.
Take
I
care.
like to give a straw, just a nice connectivity. That there.
Good.
Sometimes the thumb gets in the way. You're with Destination Newry. It is the morning programme. And we're happy as Larry. Go well. And with some music for you now.